As long as even one of us stands, our fight is not over.
We are Expedition 33.
Clair Obscur. Expedition 33 isn't your typical JRPG. From the opening seconds, it pulls you into a world of impossible beauty and crushing sorrow. The streets of Lumiere, half ruined, half radiant, feel alive. Every corner of the Belle Epoque inspired architecture, every drifting petal in the wind, is lovingly realized. It is under these heavy skies that you meet Gustave, an engineer whose heart beats with hope, and Maëlle, his fierce foster sister, whose laughter cuts through despair like a blade. I spent the first few hours simply wandering through dusk-lit plazas and abandoned galleries, drawn to every rusting but ornate doorway. These aren't empty facades. They're living set pieces, each promising a hidden diary entry from a past expedition, or the glint of a Pictos accessory waiting to be discovered. And yet, the game never lets you rest for long. A sudden rustle of otherworldly violins will signal the approach of a Nevron, those painted beasts that emerge from dream-splintered canvases. In the blink of an eye, the scene shifts from tranquil exploration to tense combat. Combat is where the magic really happens. On paper, it's turn-based. In practice, it's equal parts rhythm game, puzzle box, and ballet. You select your command, overcharge, elemental barrage, or a free aim shot. But then, you dive into real time to dodge or parry incoming blows. Miss the beat, and you'll watch as your carefully laid plans unravel in a puff of cursed smoke. Land your parry just right, and the world slows. 3 counter slashes later, that same Nevron lies shattered, giving you precious action points to unleash your next devastating combo. Yet no system is flawless. The occasional UI clutter when organizing Pictos, and the lack of an on-screen minimap in dungeons is unfortunate. I found myself backtracking through twisting corridors more than once, but each rediscovery led me to a new vista or a secret boss arena that made it worth the detour. The voice acting, it's stellar. The performances turn every cutscene into something you'll replay just to feel their resonance once more. If I had to single out any small missteps, I'd say the relationship leveling at camp feels a bit tacked on. Click through a few dialogue choices and your gradient attack improves. The real emotional work happens in the trenches of battle and in the radiant, windblown cards of lore you unearthed. But these are quibbles in a masterpiece. Clair Obscur, Expedition 33 is 30-odd hours of narrative urgency, broken open by side quests that could easily double that playtime if you're hungry for more. It's a bruising test of skill and a tender narrative on loss and hope. For me, it's a 10, and I recommend this game to anyone who craves a JRPG with soul. Players who cherish careful strategy, who yearn for a story that grips the heart, and who welcome the challenge of mastering a combat system that dances on the edge of perfect. Blueprints took over my life. It is the debut from indie studio Doggebomb, and yes, it lives up to every whisper of praise you've heard. The premise file is deceptively simple. You inherit a 45-room mansion on Mount Holly from your late uncle, provided you can uncover its secret 46th room. But here's the catch. Every morning, the house rearranges itself. The door you opened yesterday might lead somewhere entirely different today. It sounds like a clever twist on roguelike design, and at first glance, it is. But Blueprints is far more than a gimmick. Each new day begins in the entrance hall. You're given 3 doors, and behind each one is a choice of 3 blueprint rooms to draft onto your mansion's 5x9 grid. Once you pick a room, you step inside, and lose one of your precious footsteps. You start with 50 steps per day, run out of steps, and your exploration ends. The manor resets, but you retain your knowledge, and occasionally a few permanent unlocks that ease future runs. Rooms vary wildly, some grant keys or coins, others hide gems you'll need to draft rarer rooms. A pantry might refill your steps, a weights room might have them, certain rooms are puzzles in themselves, a security terminal requiring a password, a safe demanding a combination, a fortune teller machine that speaks in riddles. And every room is a potential breadcrumb in the hunt for room 46. What makes the loop sing is how these elements interlock. Placing a hallway early might open new paths later. Drafting a greenhouse on the mansion's edge gives you windows. Placing it centrally leaves bare walls. A shovel lets you dig up buried clues, but only if you remember where to dig. Every decision matters, and the real reward is the moment you see a chain of cause and effect snap into place. There are no cutscenes, no voiceovers. Instead, Blueprints whispers its narrative through scattered notes, redacted journals, and cryptic emails between long-gone staff. You'll find a torn letter hinting at family betrayals, a scribbled memo about a missing child, a dusty book with pages ripped out. Piece by piece, you assemble a non-linear tapestry of intrigue, greed, and a mansion that seems almost sentient. Visually, the game favors a stylized Shaw's storybook look. Every room feels handcrafted, with enough detail to invite close inspection, yet the character models occasionally betray its indie roots. The soundtrack is equally restrained, shifting from quiet piano motifs to pulsing tension as you edge closer to the manor's core. It's a world that rewards curiosity, and one that grows richer the longer you linger. Its brilliance lies in how it trusts you. It doesn't hold your hand, it doesn't spoon-feed hints, and it doesn't apologize when you fail. Instead, it hands you a pen and a piece of paper, literally or figuratively, and dares you to connect the dots. And when those dots finally align, the satisfaction is undeniable. If you thrive on puzzles that demand real detective work, if you relish the tension of limited resources, if you're the sort of player who still keeps a physical notebook by your side, Blueprints is made for you. It's a perfect fit for fans of environmental mysteries like Return of the Obra Dinn, or those who felt the itch in Outer Wilds to chart their own path. However, if you shy away from RNG-driven progression, if you need constant hand-holding, or if the idea of restarting multiple times feels more like a chore than a challenge, this may not be your cup of tea. The lack of an in-game journal, the inability to save mid-run, and the occasional frustrating sequence of bad draws are all deliberate design choices, but they can test patience. Blueprints isn't just a game, it's an invitation to think differently, to observe deeply, and to celebrate those rare aha moments when everything clicks. It's a masterclass in minimalist storytelling and emergent design, wrapped in a mystery that feels both personal and profound. This game is a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10, I wholeheartedly recommend Blueprints to anyone who craves intelligent, emergent puzzles and a narrative you earn piece by piece. Grab a notebook, clear your schedule, and prepare to be consumed. You won't regret it. Ghost of Yotei isn't just a game, it's an experience, one that grips you from the very first moment you step into the shadow of Mount Yotei. You are Atsu, a lone survivor of a brutal massacre, and from the outset, you are driven by vengeance. The opening sequence throws you into the heart of action, forcing you to confront a member of the Yotei Six before you've even caught your breath. It's raw, it's immediate, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. The story is intimate and personal. Atsu is not a wandering hero seeking justice for an entire nation. She's a survivor of unimaginable trauma, a character shaped by grief, anger, and determination. Flashbacks are woven seamlessly into the gameplay, giving context to her actions without slowing down the momentum. Each member of the Yotei Six isn't just a target. They're characters with their own arcs, their own histories, and hunting them is as much about unraveling their stories as it is about combat. And while some missions stretch longer than necessary, the depth of the narrative and the emotional resonance of Atsu's journey more than make up for it. Exploration feels alive. Esso is vast, yet every valley, forest, and snow-covered hill is populated with purpose. You'll stumble upon wolf dens, hidden shrines, or local NPCs whose lives you can impact, and these interactions matter. They reward curiosity, not just progression. Environmental storytelling is impeccable. The rustle of trees, the flight of birds, the wind that guides you subtly to your next objective. All of it immerses you in a world that feels lived in, a world that reacts to your presence. Combat is brutal, nuanced, and satisfying. Atsu's arsenal is diverse, and each weapon feels distinct, encouraging strategic thinking rather than button mashing. The balance of stealth and aggression is precise. Missteps are punished, but there are also opportunities for learning and adaptation. Boss encounters, especially against the Yotei Six, are intense tests of timing, skill, and patience. The game teaches you through experience, making victory feel earned and consequential. The audio-visual presentation is extraordinary. Every blade clash, every whisper of wind, and every note of the shamisen contributes to a fully immersive sensory experience. Visuals are breathtaking, with dynamic weather and lighting that highlight the natural beauty and harshness of Izo. Subtle animations from the sway of foliage to the reflection of sunlight on snow make the world feel tangible. And the music, often haunting, sometimes invigorating, heightens every emotional beat, pulling you deeper into Atsu's journey. Ghost of Yotei is not without minor flaws. Certain pacing issues appear in the middle acts, and the sheer scale occasionally stretches believability. But these are fleeting distractions in an otherwise masterful game. Every mechanic, every story beat, every moment of exploration works in harmony to create something that is more than the sum of its parts. This is a game for those who cherish immersion, narrative depth, and combat that demands attention. It's for players who want a world that feels alive and responsive, and for those who enjoy uncovering stories through exploration and engagement rather than just following markers on a map. Ghost of Yotei is a triumph, a game that redefines what a samurai epic can be in the modern era. That is why for me it is a 9.5 out of 10.
Danita, we must away!
Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles is a game that feels alive, even decades after its original release. From the first moment you step into the world of Ivalice, there's a tangible sense of weight to every decision, every movement across the battlefield. You play as Ramsa, a young nobleman whose ideals and morals are constantly tested as he navigates a labyrinth of political intrigue, betrayal, and war. The story doesn't just tell you about this world, it immerses you, asking you to feel the stakes, to understand the human cost behind every coup, every skirmish, every whispered secret in a darkened tavern. And yet, despite the gravity, the game never feels inaccessible. Its narrative flows naturally, supported by dialogue that has been carefully refined, brought to life by voice acting that resonates with subtle emotion and occasional sparks of humor. On the battlefield, the turn-based combat is a dance of strategy and foresight. The Ivalice Chronicles doesn't just show you a grid, it gives you a playground of tactical possibilities. Elevation matters, terrain matters. Every action has a reaction, and every unit, from the most powerful knight to a humble thief, has weight and purpose. Pre-battle planning has never felt this satisfying. Dropping your units into formation, adjusting equipment, switching jobs, considering the flow of the turn order. The addition of features like the overhead tactical view and turn reset options let your creativity breathe without shackling your ambition. The world itself is a character, from its war-torn plains to sun-drenched castles, from rain-soaked forests to the claustrophobic hallways of enemy fortresses. Subtle graphical enhancements make these environments pop without betraying the charm of the original design. You can see dust motes dancing in shafts of light during conversations, watch spells arc elegantly across the battlefield, and notice the smallest details that make Ivalice feel lived in. The soundtrack complements this perfectly, blending orchestral tension with delicate motifs, keeping your pulse in sync with the narrative's twists and turns. Every choice you make ripples outward. Permadeath creates tension without cruelty, while the flexible job system encourages experimentation, letting you tailor a team to your vision. Errands and side activities reward curiosity, while story events anchor your progress in a larger, emotionally resonant narrative. The game respects your intelligence, your patience, and your capacity for strategy, while never letting the experience become mechanical or detached. Ultimately, The Ivalice Chronicles is more than a remaster. It is a living, breathing world where narrative and gameplay intertwine seamlessly. It rewards careful thought, encourages emotional investment, and provides a tactical challenge that is both rigorous and fair. This is a game for anyone who loves to be intellectually engaged while emotionally moved, for those who want to master strategy without sacrificing story, and for players ready to lose themselves in a world that feels vast, complex, and unforgettable. I give Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles a 9.5 out of 10. It is essential for strategy RPG fans, perfect for those who appreciate deep narrative and tactical complexity, and a rich experience even for newcomers ready to discover the brilliance of Ivalice for the first time. From the moment the opening cinematic rolls in, Split Fiction proves that Hazelight Studios has once again raised the bar for cooperative gameplay. At its narrative core, Split Fiction follows two would-be unpublished authors, Mayo and Zoe, whose lives are upended when they enroll in an experimental program promising to launch their careers. What begins as a seemingly routine meeting with the publisher quickly devolves into a high-stakes, multi-dimensional adventure. In a twist that is as intellectually playful as it is emotionally engaging, Mio and Zoe find themselves trapped within the very stories they created, forced to navigate dreamscape realms that blend science fiction with fantasy. The storytelling here is unashamedly on the nose in its portrayal of an odd couple dynamic. Mio, with her brusque, sci-fi-obsessed demeanor, contrasts sharply with Zoe's effusive, fantasy-loving nature. Their differences, initially a source of friction, soon paved the way for a deeply affecting exploration of trust, trauma, and the transformative power of friendship. Even if the characters might seem predictably written at first glance, the journey they embark on is anything but mundane. Each chapter peels back layers of their past, revealing motivations and vulnerabilities that resonate long after the final scene. If the narrative is the beating heart of Split Fiction, then its gameplay is the pulse that keeps it alive. Designed as a 15-hour co-op ROM, the game brilliantly marries storytelling with innovative mechanics. Whether you're leaping across fantastical landscapes, solving puzzles that demand split-second coordination, or engaging in adrenaline-pumping 2.5D boss fights, every moment is engineered to emphasize collaboration. Throughout the adventure, the duo's abilities, ranging from shape-shifting into apes and fairies to wielding swords and whips in genre-specific chapters, are not just cool gimmicks, but essential tools that shape how you interact with an ever-changing environment. Cooperative puzzles like transforming a squad of little robots into a makeshift boat or syncing up during gravity-defying chases underscore a simple truth. In Split Fiction, communication is just as vital as quick reflexes. Moreover, the introduction of the Friend Pass system reinforces the game's commitment to accessibility and social play. This cross-platform feature means that a single copy of the game can be shared between friends, regardless of whether they're playing on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, or even on the Steam Deck, an innovation that truly embodies the spirit of teamwork. Visually, Split Fiction is a kaleidoscope of carefully crafted worlds. Each chapter transports you into an entirely new universe. One moment you're navigating a neon-lit futuristic prison with high-tech jetpacks, and the next, you're soaring through a hand-drawn, enchanted fantasy realm. This constant shifting of aesthetics isn't just for show. It's integral to the game's design, ensuring that even if some mechanics repeat, the context and environment continually renew your sense of wonder. The level design is meticulous, with every set piece, from high-speed chases and gravity-defying puzzles to quiet, contemplative benches that offer a brief respite, imbued with personality and purpose. The dynamic visual presentation not only elevates the overall experience, but also reinforces the thematic dichotomy between the rigid structure of the corporate experiment and the unbridled creativity of the writer's imaginations. Split Fiction is more than just a game. It's a masterclass in cooperative design and narrative experimentation. Whether you're a fan of Hazelight Studios' previous titles or a newcomer eager to experience innovative co-op fun, Split Fiction promises a roller coaster ride of surprises, laughter, and heartfelt moments that remind us why, in the realm of video games, it truly takes two to tango. For me, it is a 9.5 out of 10. Imagine waking up in a quiet, fog-shrouded village, the air heavy with tension, and every creaking floorboard or distant whisper seems amplified, as if the town itself is alive. This is the world of Silent Hill F, a game that boldly shifts the familiar psychological horror landscape from the decayed streets of Western Silent Hill to the intimate, haunting corners of 1960s rural Japan. From the first step outside Hinako Shimizu's home, you feel the weight of isolation and the invisible gaze of a town that knows your fears before you do. The village of Ebisugaoka is meticulously crafted, with winding streets and quiet homes that seem normal at first glance, yet conceal a constant sense of dread. Flowers bloom vibrantly, their beauty clashing with the underlying menace, creating a subtle unease. Shadows stretch unnaturally, and corridors that should be safe become labyrinths of anxiety. Every room, every shrine, every alleyway feels alive, as if the environment itself is both a friend and an adversary. Combat in Silent Hill FO is a deliberate dance between survival and strategy. Hinako's arsenal, pipes, knives, wrenches, isn't merely a tool for offense, but a physical extension of her struggle, each swing weighed down by stamina and consequence. Timing and precision matter. A missed dodge or poorly chosen attack can turn an encounter lethal. Even in moments of action, the tension never dissipates, because the town constantly reminds you that resources are finite, and the line between safety and danger is razor thin. The other world in this installment is a revelation. Reimagined through Japanese mythology and folklore, it replaces decayed Western motifs with shrines, ceremonial halls, and surreal landscapes that reflect Hinako's internal torment. Encounters here are as much about solving cryptic puzzles as they are about confronting grotesque manifestations of guilt, fear, and resentment. Each transition between the normal world and the supernatural realm deepens the narrative, making every step feel purposeful, every discovery resonant. Audio plays a central role in shaping your experience. The soundtrack, ambient noises, and subtle shifts in silence are not just background, they are tactile, pressing against your senses and pulling you deeper into the story. Footsteps echo with intent, whispers hint at unseen dangers, and music swells in a way that mirrors Hinako's emotional state. The village feels alive, haunted by memories, and this interplay between sound and space creates a persistent psychological tension. Silent Hill FO is not a casual stroll through horror. It is an intimate, sometimes brutal examination of grief, societal pressure, and the shadows that dwell within a person. It asks you to navigate both physical threats and the labyrinthine corridors of the human mind. The story unfolds gradually, each encounter and puzzle threading together to reveal a narrative that is both tragic and cathartic. The game rewards patience and observation, offering multiple layers of discovery on subsequent playthroughs. Silent Hill F is a masterclass in immersive psychological horror, seamlessly blending action, exploration, and narrative depth. It challenges players to think, feel, and fear in equal measure, crafting an experience that lingers long after the console powers down. This is a game for those who seek horror that is intelligent, atmospheric, and deeply human. For me, Silent Hill F is a solid 9 out of 10. For players who appreciate methodical combat, atmospheric exploration, and emotionally resonant storytelling, this game is an essential journey into the heart of fear. Have you ever lain awake at 2 a.m., wrestling with every regret, every what if, and wondered how different your life might have been? The Alters grabs that feeling by the throat, drags it onto an alien world, and forces you to survive it twice, thrice, or more, through versions of yourself you never knew existed. In this game, you are Jandolski, a builder on a mining mission for a substance called Rapidium. When your crew dies on entry, you wake alone on a bleak gray planet where the sun itself can bake you to a crisp. Salvation lies in a towering wheel-shaped base, your new home, your fortress, and your prison. Inside that base is a quantum computer and a chamber called the Womb. Feed it Rapidium, and you spawn alters, clones of Jan, each shaped by a different life choice. One Jan became a scientist, another stayed with his wife, a third stood up to his father. They share your face, your DNA, and your name. But none share your story, not really, and they matter. Managing their moods, their needs, their grudges, and their scars is as vital as mining metal or weaving radiation filters. Skip a meal, skip a conversation, skip their birthday gift, and you'll watch them sulk, rebel, or die. The game's heart beats in those moments. Late night chats in the lounge, beer pong tournaments to relieve stress, awkward attempts at consolation. You end up worrying about these Jans the way you'd worry about a friend, because in a twisted way, they are your friends. But this doesn't feel like a gimmick, it feels real. Alex Jordan's voice work gives each Jan a distinct tone, a unique cadence, a personality you can't ignore. When Engineer Jan complains about back pain, or Botanist Jan reminisces about his imaginary wife, you believe it, you feel it, mechanically. The Alters is a survival base builder with a kinetic twist. By day, you assign jobs in the 2.5D interior, workshops, gardens, labs, mess halls. By night, you venture out in third person, scanning for veins of organics, metals, and Rapidium. build rigs, daisy chain pylons, harvest enough to keep the base and your altars alive, all in real time, while the sun inches closer, each minute a lifeline or a noose. It's tense, it's addictive, but it's also flawed. The base feels cramped once it grows. Chasing Yans down the corridors becomes a stroke-inducing loop of elevator rides and map checking. Resource gathering can turn into button mash busywork, especially when the next upgrade hinges on one more rock fragment, and the final chapter loses some of its desperation, trading sweat for exposition more than I would have liked. Even so, the narrative lifts you higher than any flaw can pull you down. The Altars isn't just about getting home, it's about confronting every path you never walked. It's about facing regret in the face, asking whether survival is enough, or if we need redemption too. When my base finally rolled out of that crater toward the rendezvous point, I felt equal parts relief and sorrow. Relief because the nightmare was over. Sorrow because I knew those Jans would fade. Unless I replayed, unless I made new choices, unless I dared to find every branch of that quantum tree. This is not an easy game. It's not a casual jaunt. It's a study in anxiety, in consequence, in empathy brought into impossible skills. But for anyone who's ever asked what ifs and longed for an answer, this game delivers. It's a gem of indie storytelling, a survival challenge, and a philosophical mirror all in one. I scored a 9 out of 10, and I can easily recommend it to all as it is a must-play. The first thing that struck me when stepping into Silksong was not the combat or the difficulty. It was the feeling of being dropped into a living place. Farloom is more than just a backdrop. It's a kingdom that breathes through its ruins, its strange inhabitants, and the weight of history pressed into every wall and platform. You don't just move through it, you inhabit it, and that sensation lingers with every step. Hornet feels different from the night, and not just because she speaks. Her movement has a sharpness of vertical energy that makes every jump and dash feel decisive. Combat thrives on precision. A diagonal slash becomes a tool of expression, a way to carve through space with intent. Healing too is no longer casual. It requires a full silk bar and a commitment. You weigh risk against safety, and that small pause defines the rhythm of battle. Exploration is careful, almost meditative. The world tempts you with side paths, hidden caverns, and half-seen objects glimmering in the dark. Missions weave into this flow as moments of connection. The requests of strangers become reasons to linger, to listen, and to care about the world beyond mechanics. They make Farloom feel occupied, not abandoned. The music deserves its own praise. Melancholic when you need stillness, soaring when danger swells. Every note ties emotion to motion. It transforms even simple traversal into something unforgettable. The artistry is deliberate and it shows. Not every system is flawless. Limiting equipment slots early can feel restrictive, more like withheld potential than meaningful choice. Boss fights hit hard, but they respect your time. They teach patterns instead of punishing blindly. Performance remains smooth, visuals sharp, and the small touches of animation add to the sense that this world was crafted with patience. If you want a game that rewards curiosity, demands attention in combat, and immerses you with sound and atmosphere, Silksong is a rare treasure. If you're easily discouraged by loss or punishing systems, it may test your patience more than your reflexes. For me, it is a 9 out of 10, and I can recommend it to players who thrive on exploration, precise combat, and worlds rich in atmosphere. This is an easy choice. For those who prefer more relaxed progression, approach with caution, but don't dismiss it outright.
君を待っている
Stepping into Dragon Quest 1 and 2, HD 2D Remake feels like opening a time capsule of RPG history, yet somehow they feel alive, vibrant, and utterly modern all at once. The moment you start, you're greeted with that unmistakable charm, bright, detailed HD 2D landscapes, characters with expressive sprites, and a world that feels immense yet inviting. Dragon Quest 1 puts you in the shoes of a lone hero, a descendant of the legendary Erdrick. You're outnumbered, yes, facing hordes of monsters, yet the game never feels oppressive. Instead, it's exhilarating. Each step across Alefgard, each dungeon dive, each monster encounter demands strategy and thought. The addition of scrolls and sigils breathes new life into the battles, making your hero feel less like a solo wanderer and more like a true force of destiny. Every victory, every narrow escape resonates, giving you a tangible sense of growth and accomplishment. Then there's Dragon Quest II, where the game blossoms. Here, you command a small party of heroes, each with their own role, each bringing a distinct personality and energy to the adventure. The new party member, Matilda, instantly stands out, teasing, prodding, and lightening the tension during darker moments. Traveling across expanded territories, from the familiar villages of Alefgard to mysterious underwater realms, the exploration is endlessly rewarding. Hidden dungeons, secret treasures, and dynamic encounters ensure there's always something to discover, making the world feel lived in and reactive. Visually, the HD 2D style shines. The combination of detailed sprites, dynamic lighting, and vibrant environments makes every town, every castle, and every landscape a joy to navigate. The orchestral soundtrack blending sweeping epics with gentle, heartfelt melodies that anchor the emotional rhythm of your journey. Quality of life improvements make a tangible difference. Combat speed adjustments, auto battle options, and thoughtful inventory management reduce frustration without stripping away challenge. Even with these modern conveniences, the games retain their original spirit, strategy, careful planning, and the satisfaction of mastering a world that's beautifully complex yet welcoming. The pacing, while occasionally reminding you of its classic roots, never feels cumbersome, and the narrative additions, especially the deeper interactions between characters, make each quest feel meaningful. Dragon Quest HD 2D Remake is more than a nostalgia trip. It's a masterclass in remaking classics with care, depth, and heart. It balances old and new, challenge and accessibility, intimacy and grandeur, creating a magical experience that will resonate with longtime fans and newcomers alike. The games are immersive, strategic, and emotionally satisfying. For anyone who loves JRPGs, rich storytelling, and worlds that reward curiosity, this is an unmissable adventure. For me, Dragon Quest IN2 HD 2D Remake is a 9 out of 10. Lost in Random, the Eternal Die welcomes you with crackling energy, pulling you into an adventure that feels both immediate and strangely intimate. You are Queen Alexandra now, once a ruler of Random, now a prisoner within Ascension Die. Her voice, laced with equal parts regret and determination, guides you through neon-lit corridors, shadowy swamps, and clockwork fortresses, each more surreal than the last. From the first swing of your sword, the combat grabs hold of your senses. There is a crispness to each strike, steel meeting flesh, a satisfying recoil, a flourish of motion that begs you to string together another combo. Your sword, bow, spear, or hammer. All 4 weapons feel distinct, each unlocking its own dance of momentum and force. One moment you're sprinting past arrows, the next you're charging a devastating smash. In that split second before release, you taste possibility. And then there's Fortune, your companion die. You throw him like a desperate prayer and watch him tumble, each face promising a different fate. 6 unleashes carnage, 1 barely scratches. Either outcome sends a thrill through your soul. Retrieving him becomes a gamble. Will you risk exposure for the chance at overwhelming power? It's that tension, risk balance on a blade, that keeps your heart hammering even after dozens of runs. But this game isn't content with simple hack and slash. It layers in card-based magics, icy vortices that slow enemies, spectral hounds that track the guilty. Each ability has that satisfying snap when timed just right. And then come the relics, gifts from the chaotic heart of Random, a grid of colored slots where matching 3 yields a surge to your weapon, your cards, or your luck. Every choice feels meaningful. Every relic you slot, every bonus you trigger, is a small story of triumph amid randomness. Between runs, you return to the Sanctuary, a junkyard cathedral where rescued souls trade tales for upgrades. You learn the victory here is shared. A giant frog in tattered regalia offers blessings. A masked merchant refines your weapons. Each conversation unfolds like a miniature play, until you realize that the world you fight for matters just as much as the fight itself. The game's art direction marries crooked fairy tale charm with pulsing neon veins. Shadows coil like living things, and every realm exudes its own personality. One minute you're navigating a fungal underworld where spores drift like confetti, the next you're winding through a mechanical circus of gears and mirrors. And through it all, the soundtrack pulses, gothic strings melding with electronic throbs, pulling you deeper into the die's dream. Difficulty here isn't punishment, it's invitation. You will die, frequently, yet each defeat feels like a lesson etched into your reflexes. You learn attack patterns, room layouts, and the clever quirks of each boss. You adjust builds, you tinker with relics, and slowly, steadily, you grow stronger. The narrative unfolds in breadcrumbs. It's not a sweeping epic, more a whispered confession from a once mighty queen. You'll yearn for deeper lore from time to time, but the emotional core remains clear. Redemption, revenge, and the fragile hope that even fate can be bent. After all the darkness and dice throws, you'll step back and marvel at how those moments of randomness coalesce into something purposeful. Those spikes of joy, those near misses, those glorious sixes, they all sink into a rhythm that carries you forward. In the end, Lost in Random, The Eternal Die delivers one of the most exhilarating action roguelites I've ever played. It's smart without feeling precious, challenging without cruelty, and endlessly replayable. I give it a solid 9 out of 10. If you crave combat that makes your heart race and rewards both strategy and spontaneity, this game is your next obsession. Whether you're a seasoned roguelike veteran or someone seeking an entrancing entry point, roll the dice, you'll be glad you did. An honorable mention goes to Sonic Racing Crossworlds. I highly recommend it for fans of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, especially those who enjoyed past titles like Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed and are looking for a return to a more traditional, high-speed kart racing experience with a twist. It didn't make my top 10 list, but I'm sure many of you do have it on your list as a top game released this year. Sonic Racing Crossworlds is not just a kart racing game. From the moment you accelerate off the starting line, it immediately hooks you with its sense of speed and precision. Every drift, boost, and jump feels tactile, like the game is rewarding your timing and risk-taking. You can feel the weight of each vehicle, yet the controls remain intuitive enough to allow for fluid chaining of actions, transforming every corner into a thrilling decision point. The Crossworlds mechanic, which teleports racers mid-lap to completely new tracks, keeps each race unpredictable, and every portal feels like a surprise twist. forcing adaptation and strategy in real time. It's an evolution in kart racing design, merging nostalgia with fresh innovation. Visually, the game dazzles. Tracks brim with color, dynamic lighting, and subtle details that make each environment feel alive. Whether you're racing through lush jungles, futuristic cities, or twisting coastal cliffs, the world reacts beautifully to motion, and the sense of speed is enhanced by how each scene flows past. The audio design complements this perfectly. The soundtrack pulses with energy, merging classic Sonic motifs with exhilarating new arrangements that make each race feel cinematic. Characters chatter and taunt, adding personality and immersion without ever feeling intrusive. Customization is deep without being overwhelming. Each vehicle type, cars, karts, and hoverboards, responds differently, and gadgets allow for meaningful strategic choices. Do you prioritize drift efficiency, boost potential, or survivability? The decision shapes how you approach each lap. Combined with the collection of rings, items, and multiple racing lines, the game rewards experimentation and mastery. Even in online matches, the pacing is smooth, the crossplay is seamless, and each race feels competitive yet fair. The roster is rich, spanning classic characters, newer entrants, and exciting crossovers, while unlockables and progression give long-term goals without ever feeling like a grind. The thrill of discovering a perfect racing line, chaining a series of boosts, or narrowly overtaking an opponent never diminishes. Crossworlds captures that rare balance between accessibility and depth, where a newcomer can feel competent immediately, yet mastery is endlessly rewarding. Sonic Racing? Crossworlds is a game that celebrates motion, speed, and the joy of competition. Every session is vibrant, immersive, and exhilarating. Its minor flaws, like occasional AI aggressiveness or some gadget unlock pacing, are far outweighed by the consistently electrifying gameplay. This is a kart racer that not only respects the legacy of its characters, but also pushes the genre forward. I give Sonic Racing Crossworlds a 9 out of 10. It's perfect for fans of fast-paced racing, players who enjoy deep customization, and anyone seeking a high-energy, endlessly replayable arcade experience.